my name is Monica, and I am doing the story of the 3 questions. So there once was a king who lived in a far-off land, and his favorite place in the whole castle was his study. And in his private study, he had this huge library filled with so many books, more books than you've ever seen. And he was a very wise king. He was very proud of all the books he had and how many he had read. And he loved to just sit in his study and ponder over them for a while. And one day, when he was pondering over some books, he realized that if he knew the right time to do everything, who the right people were and who to avoid, and what the most important thing to do, he would be the most successful man ever. And so he set out to try to answer these 3 questions. And so he asked all the wisest men in the kingdom if they could find an answer to that question. And if they could, he would make them rich beyond their wildest dreams. So now the men came from all over the lands, but they each answered the questions very differently. For the first question, some people said that if the king were to make a chart of all the days and months and years and planned everything out on that chart of when he was going to do everything, then he would always do everything at the right time. Others said that as long as the king avoided any idle pastimes and he always focused on the most important, focused on what needed to be done, then he would always do things at the right time. And still others said that the king needed a council of people to help him decide when the right time to do things were. And still others said that if the king waited around for the council to figure out what the right time to do things were, he might miss the right time. And so the only way to know the right time to do anything would be if he knew what was going to happen beforehand. And the only people who knew how to do that, or knew what was going to happen beforehand, were magicians. So the king needed a magician. Now question number 2 had even more different answers. Some people said that the king's most important people were his council, other people said his doctors, and still others said warriors. And to the 3rd question, he still had so many different answers. Some people said that science was the most important thing. Other people said to be skilled in warfare was the most important thing, and still others said religious worship. Now the king had decided that because there were so many answers, he agreed with absolutely none of them, and he rewarded none of the men. But he set out to still find the answer, because he was still curious, and he still needed to know. So he decided to consult a hermit who was widely renowned for his wisdom. He lived in a far-off woods, and he only accepted commoners into his house. So the king dressed in common clothes, and he took off on his horse with just a bodyguard. And as they approached, he dismounted his horse, and he went alone, leaving his bodyguard behind. And as he walked through the woods, it began to open up to a clearing, this little hut, and an old hermit digging at the ground with a shovel. Now the king watched as the hermit struck the ground with a shovel, and then kind of wiggled the earth a little bit. Each time he breathed heavily. And when the king approached the hermit, he asked him, "O wise hermit, I have but 3 questions for you. I would like to know when the right time to do everything is, and how I know who the right people are and who I should avoid, and what the most important thing is." Now the hermit listened intently to the king, but he didn't answer him. He went on again, struck the ground with a shovel, wiggled the earth a little bit, and breathed heavily. And you could see this hermit was old and weak and frail, and the king took notice of it. And he looked at the hermit and said, "Here, give me the shovel, and I'll work for you a little while." So the king started to work in the same motion, strike the ground with a shovel and dig the dirt out, but he was faster. And soon enough, the king had 2 rows of beds, or flower beds, all digged out for the hermit. Now he looked at the hermit again. "Will you please answer my questions?" But the hermit did not. So instead, the hermit reached out his hand and said, "Here, I'll take the shovel. Let me work for a while." The king shook his head and said, No. I'll continue." And he continued. As the afternoon got closer, the king looked at the hermit and said, "If you're not going to answer my questions, then please just send me on my way and I'll go back home." But instead, the hermit looked over and you could hear footsteps pitter-pattering through the woods. And the hermit looked to the king. "Someone's running and coming out from the woods." And the king was kind of frustrated, but he guessed that he could stay and see who might be coming from the woods. And this bearded man came out running, clutching his stomach as blood just flowed from his hands. And soon enough, the man ran up to the hermit and the king, and he fell to the ground. And so quickly, the king grabbed a handkerchief and a cloth from the hermit, and he tended to the man's wounds. He wrapped them, and he realized that the blood was not stopping. So he repeated this action multiple times. He wrapped the wounds in the warm blood-soaked towels. He washed the cloths and wrapped the wounds again. And after a little while, the bleeding stopped. And it was cooler outside, and the sun was beginning to set. So the hermit and the king decided to move the man inside, and together they rested him on the bed, and the man quickly closed his eyes and fell asleep. Now the king was exhausted from his ride and all the work he had done for the hermit, and so he too kind of laid down on the ground and he fell asleep. Now when the king woke up, he had no idea where he was or why he was there, or who this bearded man was looking down at him. But when the bearded man realized that the king had woke up, he said, "Forgive me, please." And the king looked at him confused. "I do not know you, and I have nothing to forgive you for." And the bearded man looked at him with remorse and said, "You do not know me, but I know you. I am an enemy of yours, and I swore to revenge myself, for you executed my brother and bought off his property. And I had come out when I realized that you were wandering out to go see the hermit, and I followed you, and I hid in the woods, waiting for you to return back so I could ambush you. But it started getting darker, and I had to go figure out where you had gone. So as I crept closer to the hermit's hut, I ran into your bodyguard, and he attacked me. And so then I ran to the hermit's house, and there you tended to my wounds. And if it wasn't for you, I'd be dead. And if I live, I promise to commit myself to being your faithful servant until the end of my days. And I will also offer my sons to you. Please forgive me." Now the king was quite happy to have made peace with an enemy so easily, and even to have found a new friend. But he still wanted to know the answers to his 3 questions. So he went out to the porch to look around for the hermit, and when he found him, the hermit was crouched on the ground, sowing seeds into the earth that they had dug up yesterday. And he looked at the hermit and said, "Oh, wise hermit, will you please answer my questions?" The hermit looked at them and looked at the king and said, "They have already been answered." And the king looked shocked. "Answered? How have they been answered already?" And the hermit said, "Yesterday, when you came to me, you came and worked and digged the land, and had you not digged the land for me and taken pity on me, you would have never ran into that man. And so at that time, the most important thing to do was to dig the ground for me, and I was the most important person. But when the bearded man came and he tended to his wounds, he was the most important person, and the most important thing to do right then was to tend to his wound. So you see, the most important time is now, because that's the time that we have the most power, and the most important people are the people who we're with right now, because we never know when we will have our last affairs with someone, and who we will see last. And the most important thing is to help those who we are with right now, for that is man's purpose here on earth.